Thanks very much for inviting us along today, Joe, because we're getting really excited about the book now. It's being published on the 10th of October, and there will be both a digital copy and a print copy. And I've actually got some proofs. So there's only 3 copies of this in existence at the moment, but you can see one of them here. And it's a really beautifully produced book, I think. The people who've been working on it have just done the most amazing job. So many thanks to all of them. To tell you a little bit about the book, it's in 2 parts. So the first part is a series of short chapters, essays, from about 28 different women all around the world. And it covers an enormous range of issues. Well, just we summed some of them up, for example, on the back cover. So the writers come from not just all continents, but also from all walks of life, and discuss the personal and professional impact that gender identity ideology is having in their countries. And the topics range from myth-busting academics to an Angolan lesbian, from a Canadian ex-prisoner to the mother of a gender dysphoric teenager. The articles cover grassroots resistance in Japan, women's spirituality, reproductive exploitation in South America, and just a whole load more as well. And there's just an incredible range of voices being heard there. And it's great that we do have writers who range from first-time writers to performance poets to senior academics, and just all across the board. And if you were one of the people that's contributed to that, then many thanks, because it's come together as a really brilliant overall piece of work. It's the first book ever that covers the question of gender identity ideology from an international perspective. So it's very important in that respect, I think. The second part of the book is a series of standardized reports from 35 different countries. We, as many of you watching will have contributed to these as well. We did a questionnaire and asked country contacts to complete it, and from that we've written standardized country reports, and they tell a tale of woe really for women's rights across the board. We'd rather hoped to find at least one country which we could all dream of moving to, where women weren't subjected to gender identity ideology and had other things such as reproductive rights. But it seems that such a country doesn't exist, or certainly we haven't found it yet. So some of the countries that we report on in the country reports are countries which gender identity ideology hasn't yet made a big impact on, but they do tend still to have terrible rights for women in those countries, particularly in relation to reproductive rights and equality and discrimination. So I think it's important that we look at that whole range of issues that affect women. The book is getting some fantastic reviews, and if you don't mind, I'm going to take a minute or two to read some of them to you, or bits of some of them to you, because I think it's important what other people have to say as well. So the Brazilian author Anne Rami says that the book is highly effective in exposing how financiers, governments, academia, the media and the press have collaborated in the mass implementation of the neoliberal ideals represented by the trans activist agenda. Secondly, Renata Klein from Spinifex Press, who's written a really lovely review for us, and again just some extracts from it. She says, one after the other, the articles report eerily similar mechanisms, changes in law from sex to gender, and the introduction of self-ID take place without fanfare and without public discussion. Women's Declaration International and their country contacts must be congratulated for publishing women's rights gender wrongs. It is a cohesive and timely volume which will contribute to educating people. Give this book to your MP, your neighbour, your parents, and urge them not to sell out women and girls to delusionary trans speak. And finally, from Kathleen Stock, who says, This is a stunning piece of work, providing a meticulously researched, jaw-dropping snapshot of the global effects of gender identity ideology on women's rights. This kind of work could not have been done in universities, but is no less rigorous for that. Indeed, its quality only underlines that the very best work in uncovering the parlous state of women's rights internationally is happening outside academia. So if you've contributed to the book, that's the that's the impact that you're having on people who really know just how important it is, the work that you've done. So again, thank you all for that. We will be inviting many of the contributors to come on FQT over the next few weeks and months and talk about their individual contributions. So I'm not going to cover them in any detail just now. But what I would like to do is to talk a little bit about promotion, because it's really important that everybody involved in WDI helps with promotion as much as possible. We will be tweeting about it, probably starting in a week or so's time. We'll be issuing a series of tweets, and we'd really hope that everybody who can retweets them or quote tweets them or something and make some comments yourself, and also publishes them or reposts them in other social media as widely as possible. Once it's published, or once we have the details, we will be including in the tweets links where you can buy the book, either the hard copy or the digital version. The digital version we'll be buying directly from WDI, I hope, and that will be the same obviously everywhere in the world. But the printed copies, it's best if you buy them, it's cheapest for you if you buy them from an outlet that's local to you. So although we will be tweeting out where you can get them if you live in Europe or the UK, if you live somewhere else, we will ask if you could maybe try and find a better source for a better local booksellers and replace that in the tweet. So that's something that everybody could help with, I think. And I think that's really all I want to say. We will be sending out a few more emails as well with extra information as we get it. And thanks very much again, Joe, for having us along.